dearly.
Okay, there's only one other time I can remember an experience like this in my lifetime.
Yes.
Okay, oh God bless it. I was a kid in Germany. It's still in there. Hey, Internet. It's Paul. It's Matt, the Dork Lords. We are here talking about the Loki Season 1 finale for all time, always. We open with a series of audio clips from our MCU timeline before the camera drifts through space to show that there are other timelines. And we see Loki and Sylvie contemplating barging through the front door of the castle that was revealed at the end of the previous episode.
Yes.
We end with Loki, now back at the TVA, finding Mobius and B-15 and trying to explain what happened, only to discover that he's in the wrong timeline. Bing, 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 bing. They don't recognize him. Instead of statues of timekeepers, we get a statue of Kang, much like Mark Wahlberg in the Lincoln Memorial at the end of Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes.
Ah, yes.
So, Paul, before we launch into me paying off my bet, you can talk as long as you want, by the way. What did you think of the finale to Loki Season 1? As we mentioned last week, we thought there might be a Season 2. They confirmed it in the post-credits of this.
Yes.
They're like,
yes.
It will be back for Season 2.
Yeah. I liked it. I guess primarily because I feel like I really thought that the bringing in basically King the Conqueror, Nathaniel Richards, the potential there has me delighted. And I liked his performance. You know, I mean, quite a lot hinged upon it, really. I suspect the other versions of the character we're going to see, and I'd be surprised if there was just one. It's like, yeah, have a very eccentric initial one, and then you can choose how the other versions of the character will be.
This is the Kang variant. They call him He Who Remains.
Yes.
I think the idea, the direction was play him like he's alone. He's been alone for a long time.
Yeah.
He's a little crazy.
Yeah, he's crazy as a result of his burden, probably.
Yeah,
yes.
And he hasn't talked to anybody in a long time, or other than Ms. Minutes.
Yes.
So he's not quite all there. We'll call him. We can call him He Who Remains, but whatever. Kang variant is what we'll call him, but not Kang the Conqueror. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Sure. Or Nathaniel Richards.
He showed with puppets kind of what happened. Yes. Before we get to the background, let me finish. Let me just get through with this. All right. I'm gonna get this out of the way. Okay. I was wrong. Classic Loki was A, not alive. B, not in the castle. So time to settle up my bet. Paul.
Yes.
Paul, I went to 6 stores yesterday. I got to do the thing. There was a Bachwinkles, a CVS, 2 Walgreens, a Target, Mariano's. None of them had salted licorice. Okay, that's not a surprise, I guess. I mean, I was upset, but I'm like, okay, fine.
Were you upset? Like,
I mean, I was like, I need to pay this bet off, and I can't.
Yeah, I guess you're
I couldn't find it. Oh well,
it's really a journey.
Yeah, I'll just eat this bar of chocolate. Oh man. But, I guess I didn't realize that part of the bet was walking around town searching in vain for candy that I can't stand. But it was. All right, finally, Paul figured it out. I decided to give Grubhub a try. Damn it, I Grubhub salt licorice to my door. All right? For those of you overseas, for those of you overseas, Grubhub is a food delivery service. It apparently delivers candy. So there you go. And so major thanks to our new sponsor, Candyality. I'm kidding, but hey, if you're in Chicago and you're desperate for a very specific candy to be driven across town to your apartment, even a candy you're scared to eat, remember, Candyality. All right, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, they're your vendor.
All right, so here's the thing. These things look like they might be like, oh look, it's the wafer to an Oreo. Like, if only. They're designed to look like coins. I don't know, let me get it close up there. Okay. I'm actually scared of this. Okay, here we go. Damn you, classic Loki. Oh, it's hard to chew. Oh, I wish I could just swallow it.
Over this.
Oh. Oh. It's not going away. I can't get rid of it.
It's everything I might have hoped.
Damn it. I'll probably turn my mouth
hope the
black.
audience enjoy it even more than me.
My mouth is a desert. Oh. Who would think this is a good idea? Like, no, you know what's a good idea for candy? Oh.
Don't disparage other people's tongues. There must be people out there, probably not amongst our viewers, but there must be somewhere on this earth people who, because really, I would have survived this long if there weren't people who enjoyed it. Dear.
Okay, there's only one other time I can remember an experience like this in my lifetime.
Yes.
Okay, I was oh God bless it. I was a kid in Germany. It's still in there. One piece, much less. Well, imagine if I ate the whole bag.
See, Germans, I can really imagine getting into it.
That's true. That's probably true. But I was a little kid, like 5 years old, in Germany, and we visited a salt mine. Like, they had tours of salt mines. And so they put us on little ore carts, and we went through the mine. I forgot where, maybe Berchtesgaden. I can't forget what it was. Anyway, in Germany, salt mine, me, little kid. And the tour guide says, well, you know, the walls are lined with salt. So, being a little kid, I'm like, I take that as a challenge. So I just lean to the side of the cart and I go, and I lick the wall with my tongue. That experience was better than these salt lickers.
So you're saying if someone had said, you know, here's a plane ticket, you can go to Germany. All you can do, though, you will be put into a box and shuttled to this mine, and you can only lick the wall, and then you will get back into the box. You'd be like, all right,
would I do that other than go with candyality?
Yeah.
Yes, but where's the flight? Oh man. Okay. All right. I know we just spent a lot of time doing that, but whatever.
Yeah, we did.
I paid my debt.
Yeah. He's a man of his word. To his regret.
All right. We've got this little puppet thing where we kind of learn the backstory. So the backstory was, as you mentioned, Nathaniel Richards. I think it was in the 31st century, something like that.
Yes.
Kind of figures out there's a multiverse.
Yes.
And he portals in other variants of himself, and they start sharing information. Hey, this is, look, in my world, there's this. Which, by the way, I know we often compare shows to this show that we liked and covered on Dork Lord's counterpart.
Yes.
But I'm going to do it again.
Okay, are you?
Because
it was all it is. Wrong show.
Oh, it's all it's a different show. It's not Legion counterpart. All right. But here we get a Kang variant discovering the multiverse, meeting its variants, and trying to share knowledge. But they can't coexist, and a giant war erupts. That's essentially the plot of Counterpart. Obviously, this is much more cosmic scale, but you know, in Counterpart, they meet their doppelgangers and they try to share knowledge, but anyway, bad things happen. So, yes, we know that there are many more, apparently, many worse variants of Kang out there than our He Who Remains. And so we also get this answer. You know, after WandaVision, we were like, oh, apparently, you know, Wanda's going to be in Multiverse of Madness because she's going to create the multiverse or something like that. No. Wanda didn't create the multiverse.
No.
Sylvie did. He Who Remains has a book that shows him every word and every action that has taken place for eons. Did he write that book? Did another variant write that book? How did the book get formed? Do we know that? We're not sure.
I don't know. I don't know that it's necessarily a book of everything. Maybe just what's applicable to them. I don't know.
Okay, good point. Maybe it's just like, this is what's important for my future. But in any case, you know, as he's giving this exposition, in the middle of it, he reaches the end of the book. It's like, now we're off script. And the choice is either replace him, for Sylvie and Loki to replace him and become the new leaders of the TVA, and I guess in that case he'd just go off and retire.
Yeah, presumably.
Or kill him
Yes.
and issue in all the multiverses that he pruned, I guess. Somehow, like his life force is attached to the pushing back of the multiverse, is what
I guess it wasn't an option to kill him and take over the TVA.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was like, can you replace him by killing him?
Because I guess like part of the transition would have been training.
Yeah, good point.
Because the training didn't happen. So
yeah, look, there's a 2-week orientation. Then we're gonna go through your benefit package. You got there's a lot to go through here. Do you want the dental? Okay.
Yeah. But I guess too, though, certainly before they made the decision, all the branch realities were beginning anyway. So
that's true.
I guess if they were like, yes, we'll take your option. How do we stop the branch? Okay, well, here's this,
Oh yeah, you push this button.
Yeah.
I guess the conflict between the Kangs is apparently what started that multiversal war that we heard about at the beginning.
Presumably, that's what it appears to be. Yeah,
that's what it sounds like. And so the way that He Who Remains resolved it apparently is he enlisted the aid of, tamed whatever Elias, and then it sounds like he put Elias on this planet at the end of time, and then dumped everybody there, and Elias maybe ate the various Kangs. That's kind of what I got out of it somehow.
Yeah,
anyway,
possibly.
He used Elias' powers to win the fight.
Yes.
All right, so we've got this choice. And obviously, if you've got these two folks, they're each going to come down on either side of the choice. Loki wants to replace He Who Remains. Sylvie, still out for revenge for being robbed of her life, wants to kill him.
Loki thinks perhaps that they should replace him.
Right. But it's his motivation that matters. To Sylvie, his motivation is, you just want to be a leader like all the Lokis.
Right.
You're just trying to do power grab.
Yes, he claims that's not the case.
He claims that his motivation is, no. If we take the other option, there's so much death and carnage because the multiverse will just run roughshod. This is better than that. So let's keep the status quo, because the status quo, even though it's not great, is better than the alternative. I think that comes down to what he's trying to advocate.
I guess so.
He gives that heartfelt, I'm a changed Loki speech.
Yes.
They kiss, which feels weird. Kissing himself, that's all. But Sylvie uses that intimacy to get that close to basically then, I don't say trick Loki, but shove him into a portal into a TVA, which turns out to be the wrong TVA. She then stabs Kang for revenge, and he dies saying very, prophetically, "See you soon." Because we do know that Kang the Conqueror is coming to Quantum Mania. And apparently Loki will be in Doctor Strange 2, or in some form. Maybe it's a cameo.
I've heard, some rumblings of that.
So your choice was a relatively peaceful universe of no free will, or a multiverse of free will with unmitigated carnage and violent death. And so
what comes along with free will, which can be
the
consequences of.
That's right. People can
freely
decide to be jerks, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the path that we're on. It's a multiverse go kind of thing.
On this whole question of the revulsion people may feel for Sylvie and Loki, one interesting thing I was reading up on is, I wasn't aware of this before this episode, but of Loki's origin, basically. The whole idea about how he adopted child of Odin, right? And he's really an ice...
Right. Frost giant.
A frost giant, right. Apparently, I'm not sure if it's actually part of the... mentioned in the movies. I was trying to watch the original Thor, but I think it's part of the comics canon, is that one of the reasons why Odin decided to take the child of his opponent is actually that a witch sort of cursed him that he would have to do that. Now, the differences that we see in all the Lokis we've seen cannot just be simple, instead of having a son, I had a daughter. It's like, I think it's like different opponents that Odin faced, and therefore different children that he
So you're
took.
thinking that biologically she's different.
She may be. I'm not saying that she definitely is, but I'm saying she may be.
Okay, all right.
I don't
there
know
also
that they
is-
necessarily will do that because, in a way you could say like, okay, is it the child growing up in the house of Odin that makes a Loki a Loki?
Right. Nature versus nurture. And is there
yeah,
even such a
right,
thing as a
exactly.
Loki? Is that even really a thing other than just in literature? Like, if you just grew up completely in a completely different world, completely different everything, and you're like, no, but you're me. You're like, are you?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
But
So that's a possibility. I don't know that they necessarily will do that. But it's certainly an option that if they decide, everybody's kind of freaked out by this. We didn't think about that.
yeah, I mean, it is funny because it is. I like the fact that it's at the same time touching, but then also it's kind of like, oh, he's kissing himself. Like there is for Loki that seems to work for me in some way. Like it's like this really like, oh wow, they got together, and then you're like, oh, but it's him anyway. But so this is kind of fun. I appreciate it. It weirds me out, but I appreciate that in the context of Loki. I think it works for his character.
Yeah. It's like if you think about, it's like that scene in Iron Man when Tony Stark is after a battle having the parts of his uniform taken off, and Potts comes in and he says, "Let's face it, this is not the strangest thing you've ever caught me doing."
right. The other, I don't want to say the B plot, but while we're getting this exposition, we're seeing Ravana basically talk to Mobius. Mobius confronts Ravana.
Yes.
Meanwhile, B-15 has discovered that Ravana was also a variant and found the school teacher version of Ravana.
Yes. To educate the other hunters.
So Ravana realizes what the truth is, but doesn't care. What I got out of her conversation was, she says at one point, like, only the one in charge has free will.
Yes.
Which I guess would, in this case, be he who remains.
Yes.
And then when she's leaving, she says she's going to look for free will, something like that. So what that suggests to me is you combine those two phrases, and I want to be in charge, so I have free will.
Right.
That's kind of what I got out of it. So I think that's her motive is, if I can control this organization, I will be the one person with free will in this universe. Of course, now it's a lot harder because there's a multiverse that just showed up.
Right. Well, she presumably, the person, well, I shouldn't say presumably, but a possible way that someone might exercise control is taking over the TVA or in a group like it to decide which timeline is sacred. So certainly what some of the things that the comics has in store for Ravana Renslayer is, I guess, to become the Terminatrix.
She has a relationship with Kang the Conqueror, I believe.
She does, but she also has her own sort of superpowered suit that allows her to do things.
It seemed like she was going to be a villain. There was some doubt, maybe. It feels more likely than not now that she is an antagonist. You got to deal with her in some way.
Yes, an additional villain.
Right, another faction. At the beginning of this season, we saw a fair amount of Mobius and Loki together. I like Sylvie and Loki together, but I kind of missed a little bit of the Mobius-Loki. I suppose now that Loki is back with another version of Mobius, maybe, and he's separated from Sylvie, maybe it'll be a Mobius and Loki go searching for Sylvie while Sylvie searches for them. I don't know, maybe that's a season 2 storyline. But
I don't know.
I just missed a little bit of the Loki Mobius hijinks.
Even at the end, where Mobius didn't know Loki.
Right, you're like,
oh. Didn't feel like. You're like, no.
Loki is trying to tell Sylvie that, I think he's trying to say, first of all, what you're about to do is going to cause a lot of death and chaos, but also it won't give you what you want. He's like, I've been where you are.
Right.
And so I think what he's trying to say is, you're going to go for revenge and you're going to get it, and then it's not going to give you the satisfaction you want. And I think we see a little bit of that just in her reactions after she's killed. She kills Kang and then she kind of sits there, and I don't. She doesn't look like. Yay, victory! My life's goal is complete. She maybe feels like it's maybe a hollow thing, and maybe reflecting that, okay, maybe Loki was right. This doesn't give me what I wanted out of it.
Perhaps, or she's overcome by the moment and has yet to fully assess what has occurred.
That's true. But I mean, if you were thinking like an arc for season 2 for her, it might be to try to find Loki and attempt to either stop the carnage that she maybe feels responsible for causing. She might be like, oh, it did, because she even tells He Who Remains at one point, you're lying. So she's not even 100% sure that she thinks he's lying to get out of being stabbed. And then she's going to see that, oh no, he wasn't lying at all. There's terrible things have come as a result of me stabbing this guy.
She might think that. I mean, I like the moment when Nathaniel realizes that, now he doesn't have any knowledge of what's to occur. It's all real.
Right.
He could have lied. All that time he was establishing that he could not be defeated,
true.
And they pretty much accepted it at that point. So,
right. He'd given them enough evidence that
yes, exactly. Yeah, he could have offered them that and not told them the part of, I don't know what's going to occur.
That's true. That's true. No, yeah, you're right. He didn't come off as a guy who was lying, but I think Sylvie needed him to be a guy who was lying, and so she's like, "You're lying."
Right. And perhaps, and one thing too I would suggest in terms of what her actions might be the next season, she shouldn't decide that she's made any mistakes very soon. I think she should still be against the TVA trying to prune anything.
Right.
The whole point of what she's trying to do is to stop that. So, Loki may be involved. He probably definitely wants to find Sylvie. And I guess that would mean finding which timeline she's on.
Correct.
And the way that everything was set up was sort of like, okay, whatever diverges from what happens, but now that's all that's happening is diverging. So they may not have, a great way to find her.
I think the idea was before this episode, there was one TVA, or at least, one group of folks that were like TVA folks. Now that you've got, obviously, multiple TVAs,
I think perhaps you could argue that there may have been multiple TVAs that were all doing the same thing.
Okay. All right. I'm not sure. But if in the case of here where you've got them all potentially meeting, will you have like TVAs fighting each other? Which TVA are you? Oh, you're that one. Kill him.
It could be. I mean, this is where we get some of the other groups that apparently had similar things. One of the there's a connection between a character in the comics that's called He Who Remains and a group called the Time Twisters. So that may be something that occurs, that these other books from the canon of the comics, appear in this.
It's like, we're the TVA with the white stripe on the side, so whatever. Yeah.
The more I think about it, the more interesting what is occurring is. I don't think I anticipated. I mean, I knew something had to happen in terms of the multiverse, but this chaos seems very interesting, actually.
Yeah, I think what I did is, in especially when I was leaning into the classic Loki thing, I think I underestimated two things about this show. One is I was
kind
of
just Loki focused. Like, if anything is going to happen, it has to be related to Loki.
True, but also the fact that I was using, say, WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier as a template to say, like, okay, this is going to be a kind of a self-contained, almost like a long movie, and then if they do a season 2, they'll come up with another movie to place in this world, but it would be fairly self-contained. I didn't think that they would kind of do like a cliffhanger for a season 2 kind of thing, like meet your villain, and now we're going to deal with him in season 2. Like I kind of didn't think that was the way this show was going, and it obviously did. So there was that it's definitely leading. It was leaning into season 2 from the beginning.
Yes.
And so there's that. Then the other thing is that up till now, Marvel has been of such where they're like, you don't have to have watched the TV shows to enjoy the movies. If you watch the movie, nothing. You're not missing anything if you haven't watched the TV shows. Well, now by setting up this multiverse, all the multiverse stuff that's coming, seemingly, is going to trace itself back to this show, which is I think it's a huge change for what Disney is doing with the interaction between TV and movies. And we were talking for years when Netflix was doing Daredevil and stuff, they were like, it'd be cool if
they did promise that was what it's going to be. We just didn't imagine that would happen in quite this way, with a dramatic way. It's like, here's the character, like in WandaVision, the character that had previously been in movies and now doing TV show, and now she's going to go into Doctor Strange. Well, okay, that shouldn't be a surprise because she was in the movies before. Right. This is the first time that, certainly a character that was first introduced. Well, I guess not. I mean, actually, I forgot about Julia Louis-Dreyfus' character.
Sure, but her level of involvement.
We have yet to see exactly where that's going to lead. So it's hard to say.
Good point. I mean, what I think there's a possibility.
Kang the Conqueror definitely has, huge implications.
Right, he could be the Thanos of this phase.
And more than a plot line on Earth that. We're yet to see, other than who is going to be Captain America. This, has the potential with all the multiverse stuff to bring in bring in Fantastic Four, bring in the X-Men. This more than the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier has more potential to change the multiverse.
Agreed. I enjoyed. Even though I was wrong about Classic Loki,
you're like, I'm gonna eat some candy.
I didn't enjoy this, but I enjoyed that twist, and I think it sets up nicely for Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. It sets up nicely for Ant-Man, Quantumania. I'm all for it. I think it's great. I'll also be interested to see how Jonathan Majors, as you put it, does his different variants. I think that'll be fun to see this character played out in different ways.
I'd be surprised if the implications of this character, Jonathan Majors, being Nathaniel Richards. They haven't said the words Nathaniel Richards, but that's his story.
Okay. Sure.
And so it suggests then that, an avenue of casting for Reed Richards. People were talking about Jim from The Office being Reed Richards, because he certainly seems like it, and now it seems less likely.
Right. Good point. If I were to say one thing about this episode that was not quite to my liking, and actually my wife Jackie mentioned it as well, was I felt like there was it was a little too static. There was a little too much of an exposition dump. It felt like the Matrix movie when they went into the architect, and the architect gives them the whole thing before Neo makes the choice that was unexpected.
Right.
So, and the fact that they were cutting between the one static shot, talking heads, and then they were cutting to Ravana giving a monologue. It was like, okay, you're cutting between two talking head scenes. So that wasn't, the pacing I thought was a little off in that way.
It wasn't saved by the fact that then they had to fight afterwards?
Right. Also I'll say this, the fight choreography looked cool, but
yeah, it did.
There wasn't a lot of tension in it because I didn't ever think they were actually going to hurt each other, right? I was like, come on. They care about each other. They're just trying to get in each other's way. It wasn't anyway, but it looked cool. But so I'd say for a superhero action show, that episode, it looked cool, and I liked the sets and everything like that. They looked really neat. Maybe a little too much sitting and talking. That's all for this particular episode. I get it. They had a lot of talking they needed to do.
Yeah, they had a lot
of explaining
to talk about.
Yeah, they did. They did. Like, we're setting up the next 3 years.
Please
pay attention.
I'm fine with what we're getting since there's some explaining in the past. But unlike in the example you gave in The Matrix, that was more of a capper, you know, and not in terms of, you know, expanding what could be possible in the future.
Also, I'll say this: the architect in The Matrix gave a very dry read, right? He was like, ipso facto, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And here, Jonathan Majors, I mean, they put him to the test here because I think they were like, look, you're not going to have any music. We're not going to theme it up for you. You talk, and we need you to make this interesting. And he did a good, his mannerisms, his little affectations and everything.
It'd be interesting to see,
broke up the dialogue.
Now that he can actually admit that he did it.
Right. I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah.
How that moment was created and what was his thinking behind it.
So they had these audio clips at the opening montage.
Yes.
The opening audio montage, I should say. I think it opened with the song that Steve Rogers is dancing with Peggy Carter with. Okay, at the end of Endgame. Which is interesting because that is an alternate timeline, right?
Yes, it is. That is, yes.
Yeah, so it's interesting that they opened with, hey, we're not crazy here. We're not introducing something you don't already know. Here's an alternate timeline just in case you forgot from Endgame.
One of the things that I don't yet understand about Nathaniel Richards is this. So Reed Richards is the character who Nathaniel Richards is related to. Okay. Now, there are actually two Nathaniel Richards. There's Nathaniel Richards, who is King the Conqueror, who in the 30th century or whatever makes all these discoveries. But there's also Reed Richards' father, who is also Nathaniel Richards. And Nathaniel Richards, the father, is actually a time-traveling person. He actually discovers time travel. So to the extent that they will decide that those two were the same people, I don't think that's what it is in the comics. But you know,
they also might lean away from making this Nathaniel Richards. I mean, you're right. It seems
I guess, but
logical,
it's the way they can. It's a way they can bring in the Fantastic Four.
Right.
So
right. You're right.
You know,
they've got a Richards,
and it's
look,
part. Yeah, and it's part of the story. So
why
they
not?
may decide to make it something else, but you know, or you know, hey, no relation. We're two Richards guys, but we're not related.
Right. Wait, who are you?
I mean, certainly, the creator of Ultron was not Tony Stark in the comics. It was actually Hank Pym. So they've made major changes before.
Good point. Great point. So and in
we'll
fact, that's going to lead into the next series that's coming up really soon in August. The What If series, where they're going to recast basically these characters in different roles and mix and match. So that's an animated show. I think we'll be covering that. My guess is, if you're up for it, Paul, I'm up for it.
I certainly would love to.
Yeah. So we'll be covering the What If season 1 of Loki in the hopper, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. Looking forward to, I don't know, it'll probably be a year or more before we get a Loki season 2, but so be it. Bring on What If, and we'll be talking about Black Widow. Little belatedly, I was on vacation, my fault, but we'll be talking about Black Widow here very shortly as well. So cool. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Paul, as always.
You're welcome.
And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.